of real estate. We're really happy to be back in the office in 2024. And we thought we'd just kick it off by talking about some of the goals that we've set and what it looks like to set our goals, how we get that set up, going into the new year. Welcome back, Matt.
Welcome, Mark. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So I'm going to start interrogating you first. All right. So I'm not one that's a big fan of New Year's and calendar years and that sort of thing. But I do have to ask, what do you hope to accomplish in 2024?
Oh man, I'm still working on that right as we speak. But I want to get my Liberty Pole project finished, buttoned up this year. So 2024 will be a big year for getting that done. Hopefully, a few months before, 4 months before. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of top of my priority list. I really want to get my team dialed in on the real estate sales side and kind of empower them to take on more leadership so I can, step back and just act more as a broker. Mm-hmm. So if they have tough questions, they can come to me, but otherwise they're pretty much independently running the leads. And, I want to spend more time with my family. I think those are probably my 3 primary objectives this year.
So I have to ask, because one of the things is I've always tried to set big, hairy, audacious goals for myself, and what I found this work best for me is I would just set a goal something kind of sounding ridiculous. If your goals don't sound ridiculous or make people laugh, then I don't think they're big enough. Yeah. But also, the one thing that's worked for me recently in the past few years is, okay, there's the goal, but then what are the habits I'm going to have to adopt to get to those goals? Absolutely. So speaking on all of those things, what daily, weekly, monthly habits are you thinking of that are going to bring you to those? I mean, on the family side of things, let's talk about that.
Well, I think it all starts with your time blockability and calendaring, right? So I use my calendar all the time. It's probably one of the apps that I use most during my day, and that's trying to get the slots all lined up to maximize my potential to achieve those goals, mm-hmm. right? So if I said, one of my top 3 goals is to spend more times with my kids and my wife, mm-hmm. those things need to go on my calendar now so that they're there and it's already taken care of. That goal has been set to be successful because I've put the things on my calendar to reach that goal. Mm-hmm. And so the beginning of 2023, I had recently joined a mastermind and I was really excited to set some really crazy goals. And sorry, I lost my train of thought, but that's how I was able to, do that, basically time blocking and mm-hmm. getting those things on there. So I've put a number of things on for this year that carry over year after year. And so it's something that I'm constantly building on to make sure I'm not just having a goal, meeting it, and then not being able to keep that moving forward in my life if it's something that I want to continue, like spending time with my kids and my wife. Not to say that I don't tweak it and make it better. And what did I learn last year? So this is the time where I'm going to figure out what did I learn last year and how am I going to change it so I can make it better for this year. So, a number of years ago, I put something on my calendar to make sure that I bought my wife flowers, it was roughly every quarter, every 4 months, 3 months. And on the note, it said, you can't go to Wegmans and get the flowers and bring them home and put them on the table. You got to call a florist, you got to have a card, you have to have them sent to her. And that's the deal. There's no cheap outs. That's it. And so that's been on my calendar and, it works well. I like it. And I haven't really had to tweak it and change it. So that's just one that, went in the books and won. And it pops up on my calendar. So I know when I see that, I've got to do it and I've got to get that task done.
Mm-hmm. So on the broker side of things, to optimize and empower your team, what habits specifically are you thinking to put in place for that? Because I know that as a former broker myself, I had, people like to think salespeople are good leaders because they're persuasive, but there is no greater mistake of doing that. I'm not a leader. I'm a salesperson, relationship person. Mm-hmm. I struggled with, having, hey, if you wanted to hang your license with me and that sort of thing, and then just go off and do your own thing. Okay, fine. But I really wasn't the greatest support person for that. So What types of habits like do you have as like a leader of an organization to ensure their success and making sure that they're feeling like supported without like being like, okay, call me when you need something because I'm always there when you need something, but like being
Yeah.
proactive about doing that.
Yeah, that's a tough question. You want to build leaders within your organization, and I agree with you 100%. Salespeople, they don't want to be leaders. They think that I'm going to start leading and I'm going to reduce my volume, right?
Hmm.
Like, why should I do that? Why should I be a leader? I don't want to be a leader for you because I'm reducing my volume by helping somebody else. So I do get that perspective of it. I think it's, the scarcity mindset at the end of the day, because as somebody that helps other people myself, I know that if they put in this work for me, I'm able to pay them back more,
Hmm.
because they're helping me, I can help them more. And I don't think they grasp that concept when they're living in the scarcity mindset. So just breaking through that mindset to begin with is really huge in becoming a leader. If you
Hmm.
can't break through that mindset, I don't think you can be a leader. I think you're always going to be looking out for yourself, and you're going to think that there's not enough resources to go around for everybody else, and you're not going to be able to lead.
Hmm. So do you guys have like weekly meetings as it stands right now?
I don't force people to do stuff because it tends to, I think it would be good, but I'm like you. I'm not that person that's going to come in and rah 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 the troops.
Hmm.
Do I think that role is beneficial? Sure, I do.
Hmm.
And I had those people in my organization. I have, and it works and it doesn't work. Right? Some people are turned off by that. They don't want to come in and have somebody rah 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 them to death, and other people love it and want to come in and get that motivation and go out and do more sales, do more things because they came in and they got that spark of energy.
Hmm.
So that's why real estate's a unique field with a bunch of independent contractors running around. They're not on anybody's payroll. They can't be forced to do stuff, but I think successful teams know that the more that they work as a team, the better the team does as a whole, which means that they're doing better. So if you've got somebody with a good team set up, I think it can be a good environment where you can grow leaders, but you've got to show them it's like, if you lead by example and lead, you're going to do better, but you're going to have to trust. You have to trust the leader that's building you into your own leader, right? Because you have your own business. That's the beauty of real estate. You have your own business. You're not working for somebody else's business.
Hmm. Yeah, one of the things that we're a remote organization, so all of our people are out in the field or working from home and that sort of thing. And the one thing that I've struggled with being an owner of the company is creating that sort of camaraderie and culture. So in the sort of post-COVID environment where everybody wants to work remotely, I've always been thinking about Buckingham Properties, for instance. I always like reference this is that like every Friday they have like a happy hour at like 4 o'clock, and if you want to
Mhm.
come, you can come. If you don't want to if you don't want to go, no problem. You want to go home and spend time with the family, that's fine too. So just thinking about that sort of thing, like with how a organization can function, create, have that culture, and because yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I have tenants that are office tenants that are struggling with the same thing. It's like we have hybrid work where we have Karen that comes in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Brad is in on Mondays and Wednesdays, and they're kind of like two ships crossing in the night. Passing in the night. So that's the one thing that I've been like thinking about from a organization standpoint, and it's definitely difficult with running a brokerage because you got agents that are out doing showings, doing listing appointments, just like doing relationship building activities. So like kind of like pull how to pull them in, feel like they're part of something
Mhm.
without them feeling like, oh my God, it's another meeting where, whatever, like, Mark's just going to be talking about this, that, or the other, or the other thing. Um, but like, something like, okay, I meet with David, my partner, every Tuesday at 10:30. We spend a couple, 1 to 2 hours together and just talk high level about operations and growth and that sort of thing. But we really don't have that with the other, people in our organization. And if I was a broker, I was like, okay, well, you can do this like once a week, and then maybe have a monthly like one-on-one check-in, because you're going to pull out a lot of different stuff like when you're meeting with somebody one-on-one that they wouldn't necessarily like bring up an item of support that they need in a group setting, for instance.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then trying to have some events that are not work specific. So we'll get lunch catered every once in a while,
Mhm.
so everybody can get together for lunch and talk as a group.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So,
So what else you got cooking up in that brain there?
oh man, it's, I don't know if we should talk about it on the podcast. It's a separate. Yeah, that's I get offline stuff on the brain.
All right. Well, I'll rein you back in. Let's talk about
Okay.
Liberty Pole, man. So, when is Liberty Pole slated to be finished by in terms of getting a CO?
I I would hope like June, July, August. You know, before the leasing season ends and we go back into the winter.
Hmm.
The winter months now are here. We got some temporary heat set up there, so we'll still be able to continue to work
Hmm.
and not freeze to death. So yeah,
So, are you going to be doing pre leasing there? Are you going to like set up a model apartment and that type of thing?
yeah, we're gonna start with the top floor and work our way down. So we'll have the top 4 apartments finished, and then I don't expect they're gonna take. I don't need to pre-lease them. I don't think.
Hmm.
I don't really. I mean, I'll start advertising them before they're done, but not yet. Maybe like 2 months before they're done. Like we
Hmm.
have out of the 450 units that we're managing, we have like 3 available apartments. It's
Wow.
ridiculous.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I'm not worried about getting those leased.
Yeah. So one thing that's actually pretty cool that we did some like pre-leasing for some redevelopment projects when I was working for a development company, and I came up with this idea to do like a hard hat tour early on when we had like our like renders and that sort of thing, like really really early on in the process there to start that sort of like brand indoctrination with people because you have a great product. I mean, you have the parking.
Hmm.
It's like it's kind of like just off the beaten path, which is perfect for multifamily. So you're not like in the thick, in the thick of like being like, you know, at Main Street and Main Street or like at Four Corners and that sort of thing in a metropolitan area. But like, yeah, having like those like hard hat tours and that sort of thing. And it's like, hey, this is something we got coming up. If you're interested in, learning more about, our apartments when they get finished, like, we'll get you on our mailing list and then, shoot you out an email when we have like something ready to show and that
Yeah.
type of thing. The one mistake I did make was in pre-leasing on a redevelopment project is we had leases signed with tenants that put their notices to vacate and with their current landlords, and we didn't finish the project on time.
Yeah.
And it was a complete like an utter like disaster. Like I wanted
Yeah.
to, it ruined my life, so
Yeah.
so to speak. But we had a lot of leases signed, but not the product to deliver to them.
Yeah, and that's kind of my hesitation to start pre-leasing soon, like now. If I don't know
Hmm.
exactly when, I think I'll have a better handle on it after we get through the winter months and see what progress we made.
And what's the general unit mix? Is it like studios and one bedrooms? Like tell me about that.
They're all one bedroom, so 10 one-bedroom apartments. They range from about 675 to 775 square feet.
Hmm.
There's 4 per floor, and then 2 on the first floor. And we're gonna have a nice lobby area for the tenants to come in, get their mail,
Hmm.
whatever, and then there'll be a commercial space adjacent that'll take up about 1,000 square feet.
What are you conservatively projecting for the lease rents?
Ooh, that's a good projection for my
Mhm.
2024 projections. Um, I would have to do like a new market analysis, but 1,800 minimally, I would hope.
Mhm. Okay, okay. Yeah, so you're going with some like higher end finishes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Want me to talk about my goals?
Yeah, Matt. What are your goals for this year? What's your
um,
big, hairy, audacious goal?
uh, One thing is that I've been working a lot on the OPM side of my business, the other people's money, capital raising side of the business. I did a lot of work on that in 2023. I was slacking on looking at deals. To be honest with you, meeting with brokers. So one of the good thing is that what kind of changed my mind was thinking bigger in terms of not like $2 to $5 million deals, but 20 to $30 million deals or higher.
Mhm.
And because the thing is that when you go to that level, you can create teams around that have alignment of interest where everybody's interested in it because it's just a bigger pie.
Yeah.
So just thinking that way. So um, the habits I'm looking to adopt is, one is to meet with brokers at least once a week, bare minimum.
Hmm.
And that's either walking properties or having coffee and catching up with them. My major aha moment that I had yesterday is I met with a broker I hadn't, talked to in a few years. And, he was like, what type of deals you're looking for? And blah, 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 blah. And I gave him our criteria, or this term I hate, buy box. And he's like, well, I know I don't have anything in the pipeline that fits that criteria right now, but I'll let you know. And then I kind of thought something in my head. I was like, all right, what if I bring a specific property in mind to him, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about? It's like a 300 to 400 unit apartment community. And he said, dude, I dated that guy's sister that owns that owns the complex there.
Yeah.
I have him in my phone right here. So, being more specific about that is definitely, a lot of power. And then just being also open in terms of flexibility. This particular outfit owns, probably a couple thousand units around the area,
Okay.
and it's multi-generational. Um, and I was like, okay, well, uh, can we set up a meeting? And it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, absolutely, you can set up a meeting, but they're not sellers. And I was like, they don't have to sell, but because would be such a big deal, would they be open to bringing somebody on like myself that could raise the capital to reposition the entire portfolio, get higher cash flow distributions to the partners on the deal, which are all older, and
Hmm.
also kids involved and that sort of thing, and also eliminate all the deferred maintenance through financing this capex on the project,
Hmm.
and customize whatever debt level distribution that they want,
Hmm.
on the deal. Like, all right, do you want some tax free cash right now on this? And then also depreciation benefits, right? We can customize a whole depreciation strategy for the entire deal that would allow them to get cash flow distributions tax free,
Right.
without them having to lift a finger.
And there's
So
they're still
yeah.
accelerated, right?
I believe that's sunsetting, but there's still cost segregation.
Hmm.
That's going to be a tool in the tool belt for tax efficiency strategies for real estate deals. So just thinking about that, it's like, okay, well, 1,000 unit deal, I can do like one deal like that every 5 years rather than like doing a $2 to $5 million deal every year, for instance, because that would take
Yeah.
up some time repositioning that many units, getting the debt together, getting all the capital raised to do a deal, to do deals like that. But it'd be interesting to like get into a project that's got like a longer time horizon, and something that's larger, so we have like the economies of scale to get teams on board. So
Yeah.
the goal is meeting with a broker that's in my network every week. That's definitely a goal of mine. And then the other goal is just thinking bigger with more people involved, because up to this point in time, it's primarily been, just myself and David, and we raised the capital from private investors and passive investors, and I'd like to have more like active people involved
Yeah.
with projects. And the only way I can feasibly do that to keep everybody interested is just by doing like monster deals.
Do you think that deal you were talking about is going to go through?
Oh, it's so preliminary. I mean, we haven't
Yeah.
even met yet. Um, but the good thing is about this person having such a strong relationship with this owner operator,
Hmm.
it is like they can tell my story without me having to tell my story to them,
Yeah.
right?
That's true.
Um, and bringing it a third party is so much more powerful than me trying to tell that story, if that makes sense.
So
Um,
how would you structure that new deal?
So let's say it's $100 million deal altogether in terms of
Hmm.
the total capital stack with current equity, capex and that type of thing. Um, so they could bring me on as a minority partner. Let's say like 19%, whatever, customize it however they see fit, right? Um, and then I could go out there, search for optimal debt to put on the property to finance that capex. and additional debt if they wanted to do a debt level distribution out to the ownership group, right? So on a $100 million deal, we could do like, okay, do you guys want $10 million in tax free cash? Okay, perfect. We can structure a deal that way. Pull out $10 million in tax free cash, distribute it out to the investors. I'm brought on as a minority partner to put together what the capex plan is going to be, the asset management plan, and then make that $100 million deal in terms of total basis turn into a $140 to $150 million deal that's cash. This cash will even more, even with added debt onto the deal.
So
So
would you get the 18%? You wouldn't have to buy in with any of your own funds, and then you would asset manage it for free as part of that 18%, or you'd take an additional fee for that?
so they have a current management. They have their own management company in place. So I
Mhm.
would ask them as like, okay, do you want to run this management company forever? If so, fine. I can be
Asset or property, or both?
uh, either or, right?
Okay.
We have the capacity to, especially with a deal like that, to have our property management company take it over. All
Mhm.
right. If they're like, no, we really don't want to do that, but we're, you know, such and such who runs the management company, who's in the family, wants to retire in a couple of years. So this could be something where, okay, that's fine. We can take over management, or if you have people that are in place that want to take over leadership, I can act in terms of the asset management capacity in terms of managing the property management company through the actual value add plan on
Mhm.
the property,
Yeah.
or properties, for instance. So
And how are
I
you
think
gonna pitch that, present it? You're gonna walk in, and what are you gonna you're just gonna all verbal? You're gonna have some colorful charts and pictures and
that
handouts for them to take with them? What's it gonna look like?
I think it really starts with the discovery process, right? These are all
Yeah.
ideas that I have in my head.
Mhm.
I haven't talked to these people, and I go through a discovery process with all of our investment partners as well.
Yeah,
I do
for
the
sure.
same process with property owners, and it's like, what do you want, right? And then if I can get a really dive deep on what you want and what is motivating to you, then I can customize a plan for that, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think that when a lot of salespeople get this wrong, is that salespeople are masters of handling objections, which I think is completely false. I think master salespeople are masters of discovery, and then customizing uh, what problems they're going to solve or what value they're going to bring to the table on that. Because
Yeah.
if you're in the position of overcoming objections, then you're already on your heels
Yeah.
in defense position.
Yeah.
So, and that's the great thing about about this business, is that, especially when you have a certain scale, is that you can really, just customize. It's not a transaction type of, it's not a transactional type of thing where it's cookie cutter.
Right. Yeah. I experienced the same with all the cross stuff that we do, from roofing to windows to kitchens, bathrooms, property management, sales. So I get the same approach whenever I talk to somebody. It's just about discovering who they are, what they're trying to accomplish.
Hmm.
It's usually in regards to real estate, and then how I could best serve them.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as if you're coming out of the gate with a pitch, and you have no idea like like what's motivating that particular person, then they're going to be thinking it's like it's coming from outer space.
Yeah.
And that's not the position I want to be in, because I've been in that position before, and it sucks, and I fail more often than succeed. So,
Yeah.
um,
There's a lot of salespeople that don't follow that, though. You'd be surprised. They still do pretty well, and I think ultimately they understand that they could do better if they followed our
mhm,
logic. But there's a lot of people that just go out there and freaking grind sales out.
mhm.
You
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah, and the relationships is like a one and done transaction. So,
Yeah, yeah,
all right, cool. Well, we got about 9 minutes left, so let's jump into the stats we have that we want to talk about, what we see going forward in 2024 from a macro perspective in our market.
cool. Let's pull up. I think this one here. So we're looking at Monroe County only, and we're looking at the historic sales by year. You'll see that the pink line is 2023, and we can see that the pink line is significantly lower as far as the number of new listings than we've seen in the previous 5 years. I think we said that this 2020 blew, this was the pandemic dip here, but they all have this seasonal kind of bump, which is to be expected, except for in this dark green, which was 2019, when we had a ton of listings, probably because everybody was getting rich off all
Mhm.
these insane sale prices.
Mhm.
So, prediction for 2024, as far as number of new listings, I think it's going to be lower. My gut is telling me it's going to be lower.
And why does your gut tell you that?
I think a lot of people in the lower interest rate loans are going to think about doing additions versus buying in a higher interest rate environment for a house that they've seen and watched go 50 to 80% up in value over the last 5 years or 6 years.
Mhm.
Somebody that bought their house and thought, hey, I'm going to buy this and maybe in 6 years I'll buy a bigger house. They're like, whoa, what
Mhm.
happened in the last 6 years? I'm already locked in at this great interest rate at like 3-4% for 30. If I dive into the market now, I'm paying double to get my same house,
Mhm.
almost my same house. So now
Mhm.
if I want to get a bigger house, I'm going to be 150% higher. That's
Mhm.
a big price. That mortgage is going to go up a lot.
Mhm.
What are my other options? Oh, well, maybe we could go up over this addition and get another bedroom with a master bath.
Mhm.
Maybe we could get that kitchen that we really want that has the open concept, and then this house will be okay because I'll get my kitchen.
Mhm.
So, you talk about projects that are, probably averaging around 100, 150 on the high end, um, for that demographic person that's in that situation.
Mhm.
It's more affordable to do that than to try to sell your house and buy a new house in an inventory starved market already,
Mhm.
where, I think we have a list to sold price ratio, one that I can put up real quick. So here we're just seeing, okay, are things selling for more than they list for? And we're only looking at the last 2 years. We're looking at 22 and 23, and then going to try to figure out what we think is going to happen
Mhm.
in 24. And the shapes are relatively the same, except for you've got the blue shape, which is 2023, kind of staying higher for longer in the season. And I think that's a reflection of the lower inventory.
Mhm.
So I think this is going to probably get stronger. I think this curve will get stronger in 2024. And, we'll probably have the same shape that we do. Maybe
Mhm.
this just kind of stays up a little bit longer like this coming off the end.
Yeah, I think that you know, I I believe interest rates will drop because I think the Fed is like, okay, we're getting inflation back to its normal increases, or towards where we want to see. So I think that the short term rates will go down and then long term rates will go down. And I think what it's going to do is that when you ask somebody that's buying a house, for instance, like they always think about monthly payment, right? Yeah, there's a sticker shock on a $1 million house, but at the end of the day, they're like, okay, let's run the mortgage scenario on this, and can I afford the payment per month? And
Mm-hmm.
with every increase or decrease, point wise, if the mortgage rates go up a percentage points, it results in a 10% reduction in purchasing power with a buyer. And it goes, same direction the other way, right? So I think that when interest rates start to come down, like let's say a point, and they're not in the eights and they're more in like the mid sixes, I think you're going to have a lot more buyers. They're going to flood back in the marketplace. I think that a lot of people that are sitting on the sidelines right now, that are going to be convinced of a soft landing,
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to be more confident, and also that fatigue that they had in terms of dealing with 20, 30 offer multiple offer scenarios when they were looking prior, are going to be energized again to go back in the marketplace. And I think that we'll have prices go even higher as a result of that, because those people have had a chance to save more money. They probably had a chance to earn, also get higher incomes as well, because
Mhm.
we've been, in a labor shortage. So that's what I kind of see like going forward.
I don't
But
know. So much changed in such a little amount of time. I mean, I agree that, home prices are going to be more expensive next year than they are this year. I
mhm,
agree with that, but I just think, the huge spike that we saw with the increase hasn't really sorted itself out yet in the marketplace. I don't think. I think
mhm,
it's still nobody knows what to do,
mhm,
right? Because prices aren't really changing, at least not in the residential sector.
mhm.
Inventory is not getting better. It's not expected to get better. Builders are not building as much because of the higher interest rate costs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that your one thing you hit on was pretty right, is like with the additions and major home remodeling and that sort of thing. You know, we would do that to our house if the location didn't suck for us.
mhm.
So we need to move regardless.
Yeah,
But for those people that, hey, we like the school district here, we'd like to have a great room and a baller ass kitchen and an additional bedroom and that sort of thing. I think that we'll probably see more of those like two story additions, that sort of thing.
mhm.
And because like, yeah, they can spend $200,000 on a home remodel, and it's going to cost them less per month than buying a house that's like double what they paid for theirs. Because I remember starting this back in 2006, $500,000 would buy you like a baller ass like mansion, right?
Yeah.
And fast forward to now, it buys you like a Cape Cod in Penfield. So things have like changed dramatically since then. So that being said, maybe we can plug in on the commercial stats next time we
Yeah,
meet.
yeah.
Because I gotta go on a Zoom call right now. But I'm going to Florida next week, so let's touch base and maybe we can do a pre-recorded one next week at some point in time, if that works
Okay.
for you.
Yeah.
When do you get back?
It's still recording right now. We should probably we didn't really have a clean spot to exit.
Okay. Okay.
Let me end the recording now.